Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of our Meet the Candidate series. I am Jimmy. We are talking to people running for City Council and Cambridge School Committee. And right now, I'd like to introduce a friend of mine. I've known him for many years here in the city of Cambridge. He has served 5 terms, folks. Count it. 5 terms on the Cambridge City Council. Please welcome to the show the one and only Mr. Marc McGovern. Hey, Marc, how are you?
I'm doing all right, Jimmy. How are you? It's nice to see you.
Good to see you as well. 5 terms, Marc. So just for the people who are new voters to Cambridge, are new and just checking you out for the first, or checking out the municipal elections for the first time, just give some people your background and how long have you lived in the city?
So I've lived in the city like you, Jimmy. I've born and raised here. My great grandfather came here in 1918, and brought his parents over and my great grandmother. My kids are the 6th generation to live in the city.
Wow.
So pretty long time.
Wow. You have 5 terms on the city council and 6 generations in the city.
That's right.
Cool. So tell us, Marc, why are you running for a 6th term?
Yeah. So, Cambridge is great. I mean, I love living here. Raised my kids here. I'm a social worker. I've worked for 30 years with some of the most vulnerable children and families right here in Cambridge and across the state. And, I think when we were just rated the #1 city in the country to raise a family, and I think people can fall into this assumption that everybody in Cambridge is doing really well, right? Housing costs are high, good job market. It's easy to forget that we actually have a higher poverty rate than the state average. And we have 1 in 8 of our children go to bed hungry every night in a city like ours. That we have lots of people who are being priced out of our city, people who born and raised here, who work here. So although there's a lot of prosperity around us, there's still far too many people who are struggling to pay their bills, pay their rent, put food on the table. And as a social worker and someone who's born and raised here, those people matter to me. And I'm running because despite all the, Jimmy, you do a lot of national politics too. And despite all the craziness that, it surrounds politics these days, I still believe that government can do good. I still believe that we can make decisions that help lift people up and make tangible differences in their lives. And to have a seat at the table to do that in the community that I was born and raised in is truly an honor. And I want to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell the folks, what do you think that the city of Cambridge is doing well, and what are the schools doing well, and what would you like to improve upon?
Yeah, so there's lots of things I think that we're doing well. We are a financially stable city, which allows us to do things that other cities can't even think about. We just did the topping off ceremony, which is when the outside of a building is completed for our 3rd new net zero public school. It's costing the city probably about $600 million for the 3 schools. We did it without raising anybody's taxes. We did it without a lot of state help. And we can do that because we have such a strong financial position that allows us to do things like we're looking at municipal broadband, right? So how do we have bring in a competitor to Comcast that the city runs, right? That's a $200 million expense. Most cities can't even think about that, let alone, move forward with it. I served on the mayor's task force on early childhood education, and we just allocated $25 million to bring universal pre-kindergarten to Cambridge starting next September so that every 4-year-old can go to a high quality program for free. We're expanding after school programs in slots in Cambridge. We're doing a lot to build affordable housing, right? We're 2nd highest in rents to Manhattan. So we're doing a lot to build more affordable housing and to subsidize more affordable housing. So those are all things that the city, I think, is doing really well. In terms of the schools, I served 4 terms on the school committee as well. And then I chaired it for 1 term when I was mayor. And half of my career in social work has been in therapeutic schools. So I have a lot of experience with schools, not to mention 4 kids that went through the public schools, or 2 that are in it now. Lots of kids in Cambridge do really well in our public schools, and they go off to great universities and, do really well, but we're still struggling when it comes to lower income kids and kids of color. And what's really frustrating about that is that was the case 35 years ago when I was in high school, right? And we have not been able to crack that problem. And that's just not acceptable, right? I mean, every kid in Cambridge should have the supports that they need to be successful in school. That's why I'm excited about the universal pre-K. My goal is moving forward is to try to drop that age. 4-year-olds are great, but we really need to drop that age to about 2.5 so that kids can get into high quality programs as early as possible. Because we know that early childhood education is a game changer, in terms of outcomes for kids academically. So, there's still a lot of work to do. I often say, Jimmy, that the thing that gives me great hope is the same thing that keeps me up at night. And what gives me great hope is that we have tremendous resources here financially, in terms of our people, in terms of the brain trust that we have in Cambridge, in terms of our values, so that any city can solve these problems. It's us. But what keeps me up at night is that we haven't. And I don't quite know why that is. And we have to keep working and we have to keep plugging away.
Okay. So moving forward, if you are elected again for a sixth term, just give folks a little idea, 3 to 5 of your top priorities would be for the next 2-year term if you were elected again.
Yeah. So it starts with housing for me, affordable housing. We know that when people have an affordable place to live, all their outcomes are better. Their physical health is better. Their mental health is better. Their job outcomes are better. Their academic outcomes are better. Quality of life is better. And we have about 7,000 people who live or work in Cambridge. So this isn't somebody from Springfield who got on our affordable housing waiting list who's never been to Cambridge. These are people who are members of our community. They work in DPW. They teach our kids. They serve us food in restaurants. About 7,000 of them who are on the affordable housing waiting list. So we've got to continue to pass bold and aggressive policies to allow more affordable housing to be built in Cambridge. I was the lead sponsor on the affordable housing overlay 3 years ago that has led to 600 units of 100% affordable housing that are in some stage of the developmental pipeline right now. We just passed last night the affordable housing overlay amendments, which are going to allow taller buildings on main corridors in Cambridge to allow our affordable housing developers more opportunity and flexibility to build more units. And we have to keep up with that. We have to end exclusionary zoning so that we can build multifamily housing in every neighborhood in Cambridge. We have to put more money into the Affordable Housing Trust. So housing is key. Mm-hmm. I'm also going to continue to work on the issues that I've always worked on, right? We have food insecurity in Cambridge. Like I said, 1 in 8 kids, go to bed hungry in Cambridge. Not acceptable, right? We have to make sure that people have food on the table, that they can pay their bills, that they can pay their rent. We need to expand the early childhood education to a younger age. We need to continue to make sure that we have a like every community, we struggle with our unhoused population in Cambridge. About 500 people are unhoused on the streets of Cambridge at any given night. How are we supporting those people? How are we helping them move out of homelessness and into stable housing? How are we dealing with our substance abuse crisis? 44 people died of overdoses on Cambridge streets last year. 6 in Central Square in the last month. 6 people have overdosed and died in Central Square alone in a month.
Is that fentanyl?
These are all things that we've got to continue to tackle. And make sure that we are being that socially and economically just community that we always say we want to be. So there's a lot of work still left to do.
Right. Marc, what organizations have endorsed you?
So I've got a lot of really great endorsements. The Greater Boston Labor Council, which has about 20 different labor unions, have endorsed me. The Mass PACE, which is the Political Action Committee for the National Association of Social Workers, the Sierra Club has endorsed me for work that I've done on environmental issues. Mass Voters for Animals, which is an animal rights organization, ranked me the #1 municipal official in the state for animal rights issues. They've endorsed me. A Better Cambridge, which is a pro-housing community organization in Cambridge, they've endorsed me. And there's more. So I'm really happy and proud of that. Those are some great organizations.
So let me ask you, Mark, some of these issues that you're talking about, we didn't even talk about the bike lanes and the restaurants and the housing overlay. But in terms of, what I've been hearing from some people, some sectors of the city, that they feel like community involvement would be very much more appreciated in terms of decision making and around the bike lanes and around the housing overlay. I know that's a done deal now, but I already know the answer to this, but just tell people in terms of how do you see yourself in terms of being open to community input and tweaking something that needs to be tweaked or reevaluating something that needs to be reevaluated?
Yeah. So I think I'm the only city councilor that has weekly office hours that I promote widely, where anybody can zoom in and talk to me about any issue that they want. I'm out in the community a lot. I think there's a difference between listening and agreeing, right? I listen to everybody. I will sit down with anyone who wants to sit down with me and talk about their views or their concerns. I'm not always convinced though, right? And sometimes we just don't, we don't reach an agreement. Where we can compromise and where we can, find common ground, absolutely. Nobody enjoys, division, right? There are times, however, where decisions have to be made and votes have to be taken. And sometimes, you don't necessarily land on the same page, right? And so I'm always open to that. I'm always open to compromise and collaboration. At the end of the day, I have to take a vote and I have to make a decision, and I'm always going to do what I think is best for the community, and particularly for the most vulnerable people in our community.
Mm-hmm. So, Mark, where can people find you? Where can they learn more about Marc McGovern? Volunteer, donate, maybe make a large donation. Where can they find you?
Stamps are expensive. MarcMcGovern.com. It's Mark with a C. MarcMcGovern.com. And my cell phone is 617-642-1731. People can call me anytime.
MarcMcGovern.com. You can find him anytime there. He has office hours as well. I'm sure that's listed on your website. Mark, thanks so much for joining us again today. Congratulations on 5 terms. Good luck on the 6th term. And I will see you on the circuit.
Yes, thank you, Jimmy. And thank you for everything you do, my friend.
It's my pleasure. I'm a proud Canterbridgian as well.
That's right. That's right.